Ladies and gentlemen, I usually try to limit my coverage of legal issues to the United States, since my experience and expertise is generally limited to US law. But I have an issue with an article about an incident in the United Kingdom that doesn't require me to be knowledgeable about UK law at all. My issue is specifically with a deceptive headline written by LadBible, which is this: Woman handed fine worth more than a week's wage after accidentally dropping cigarette. Sounds pretty terrible, right? The first paragraph of the article even says she was fined after offering to pick up the cigarette and put it in the bin. Well, gosh, why wasn't she allowed to correct her incredibly pricey and incredibly correctable accident? An entire week's wage for a cigarette? Well, it's actually because it wasn't an accident, and it wasn't as pricey as you probably think. Logically, you would assume she's making at least minimum wage, which is 8.36 euros, and working an average amount of hours in a week, which in the UK is 36.1, giving us an estimated 301 euro weekly wage. And you mean to tell me that the fine for accidentally dropping a cigarette is more than that? My goodness. No. The woman only made 60 euros a week because she's an apprentice. That's the first indicator this headline is deceptive. But what about the part of the headline that says she dropped it by accident? Well, the first concern I have is that the Facebook link says it was an accident in the title, but the actual article does not. Then, if we actually read the article, we find out that she intentionally dropped the cigarette because she accidentally burned her hand with it, and then she walked away from it after dropping it intentionally. That's littering. Littering can be punished with a fine. Why is this confusing? It really shouldn't be. So to summarize, the woman accidentally burned her hand and dropped her cigarette without intending to pick it up. She was then fined 80 euro for littering, which is more than a week's wage for her because she makes 60 euros a week as an apprentice. That's a very different story than the one that comes to mind when we merely read the headlines. This is why we can't be relying on just the headline titles. Ladies and gentlemen, they're written to generate interest and outrage and clicks and ad revenue. That's the point. But if you only read the headline, you're not getting the full story. Before you become outraged, do your due diligence. Look into the situation. Conduct some research. Become educated on the topic. And LadBible, stop it. You're better than that. Maybe.